Successful siblings only. Uncle Richard's voice boomed across the garden of the Morrison family estate. Those who've earned the right to our legacy, step forward for the family photo. I remained seated at the far table, quietly checking emails on my phone as my cousins and siblings rushed to arrange themselves in front of the mansion's marble fountain. The annual Morrison family reunion was in full swing, with over 50 relatives dressed in their finest designer wear, all eager to showcase their supposed achievements. My mother shot me a disapproving look from her place beside the photographer. "Alexandra, dear, perhaps you should take a walk while we do this. The gardener could use some company." A few snickers rippled through the crowd. After all, I was the family disappointment, the one who'd refused a position at Morrison International to play business owner with my small logistics company. I checked my watch, 2:58 p.m. Perfect timing. "Before we take this photo," Uncle Richard continued, straightening his Italian silk tie, "the board has made a decision regarding the Morrison name. Some of us," his eyes landed pointedly on me, "haven't demonstrated the excellence our family demands. Therefore, we'll be legally restricting use of the Morrison name to those who've proven worthy." My cousin Jennifer, head of marketing at Morrison International, smirked in my direction. "It's about protecting our brand. We can't have people thinking any Morrison is common." I took a slow sip of champagne, letting the expensive bubbles dance on my tongue as my phone vibrated. "Right on schedule. Miss Morrison." My assistant's voice came through clearly on speaker, loud enough for nearby relatives to hear. "The acquisition is complete. Global Shipping Networks is now officially part of Atlas Corporation." The crystal glasses clinked as servers moved among the tables. None of my relatives paid attention to the call. Why would they care about some random business transaction? "And the other matter?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Yes, ma'am. Morrison International's board just received the notification. Atlas Corporation now owns 51% of their shares. The emergency board meeting is scheduled for 3 p.m. Uncle Richard's phone rang. Then my mother's. Then Jennifer's. One by one, phones began chiming throughout the garden as the news spread. "What's happening?" my younger sister Beatrice demanded, clutching her designer purse. "Why is the board calling an emergency meeting?" I stood up, smoothing my simple black dress, no designer label, just clean lines and good tailoring. "Oh, that would be because of me. Or rather because of Atlas Corporation. My company. Your little shipping business." Jennifer scoffed, but her voice wavered as she read the message on her phone. "Atlas Corporation isn't just a shipping business," I explained calmly. "That was just our start. We're now the largest logistics and supply chain management company in the hemisphere. And as of 3 minutes ago, we own controlling interest in Morrison International." The photographer lowered his camera as chaos erupted around the fountain. Uncle Richard's face had turned an interesting shade of purple as he frantically dialed his phone. "This is impossible," my mother whispered. "You couldn't afford, you don't have the resources." I pulled out my tablet, projecting the latest financial reports onto the mansion's white wall. Atlas Corporation, $8.2 billion in annual revenue. Operations in 47 countries. And now, proud owner of Morrison International. "Why?" my father's voice cracked as he pushed through the crowd. "Why would you do this?" "Because 10 years ago, you all told me I wasn't worthy of the Morrison name," I replied, walking toward the fountain. "You said real Morrisons work for the family company, not start their own ventures. You said I was embarrassing the family by starting small, by learning the business from the ground up." I paused, letting my words sink in. "So I built something bigger. Better. While you were all fighting over corner offices at Morrison International, I was creating a global network. While you were measuring success by the brand of your watch, I was measuring it by the efficiency of our operations." Uncle Richard found his voice. "The board will never accept this. The board doesn't have a choice," I said, pulling up another document. "Atlas Corporation now controls the voting shares, and our first order of business will be a complete restructuring of the management team." "You can't fire us," Jennifer shrieked. "We're family." "No," I corrected her. "According to Uncle Richard, only successful people deserve the Morrison name. So let's talk about success." I motioned to my assistant, who had arrived silently at my side. She distributed folders to key family members. "Inside, you'll find detailed reports on each division's performance under your leadership. The inefficiencies, the wasteful spending, the declining market share. Morrison International has been trading on its name, while bleeding market value for years. My mother sank into a chair, her perfectly manicured hands trembling as she read the reports. This can't be happening. It already has, I said. But I'm not here to destroy the company. I'm here to save it. Those who are willing to actually work, to learn, to earn their positions, you'll have a place in the restructured organization. Those who've been coasting on the family name. I shrugged. Well, I hear there are lots of opportunities in middle management elsewhere. The garden had fallen silent, except for the gentle splash of the fountain. The photographer, sensing the drama, had quietly packed up his equipment and slipped away. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, I announced. Those who want to be part of Morrison International's future should head to the corporate office now. Those who don't, well, I'm sure you can find your own way out. Wait, my sister Beatrice stepped forward. All these years, while we were mocking your small business, I was building an empire I finished for her. One that values competence over connections, results over reputation. Atlas Corporation didn't succeed because of a famous name. We succeeded because we actually deliver value. My phone buzzed again. Messages from board members already pledging their support to the new regime. They'd seen the numbers. They knew which way the wind was blowing. One more thing, I added, turning back to Uncle Richard, about restricting the Morrison name. I don't think that will be necessary. After all, I've just demonstrated which of us truly deserves it. The Morrison International boardroom looked different from the head of the table. Gone were the usual suspects. Uncle Richard with his gold cufflinks, Jennifer with her perpetual smirk, cousins who'd inherited titles without talent. Instead, 20 shell-shocked faces stared back at me, their designer suits suddenly looking like expensive costumes. Let's begin, I said, opening my laptop. First order of business, the complete audit of Morrison International's operations. You can't just walk in here, and Uncle Richard started, but I cut him off. Actually, I can. Atlas Corporation now owns 51% of voting shares. But more importantly, I projected a graph onto the screen. Morrison International has lost 40% of its market value under current management. That ends today. My assistant Sarah distributed thick folders to each board member. These contain detailed reports of each division's performance over the past 5 years. The highlights, or rather lowlights, are particularly interesting. Jennifer flipped through her folder, her face growing paler with each page. These numbers, they're confidential. Nothing is confidential from the majority shareholder, I replied calmly. Like how you've been inflating marketing metrics while actual customer acquisition has dropped 60%. Or how Uncle Richard's pet projects have cost shareholders $300 million in failed ventures. The room erupted in angry mutters. But I continued. But today isn't about pointing fingers. It's about fixing what's broken. Sarah, please share the restructuring plan. New folders appeared in front of each board member. As they read, the muttering turned to stunned silence. You want to merge Morrison's shipping division with Atlas's logistics network? My father asked, his voice hoarse. Creating the largest integrated supply chain solution in the industry. I nodded. Something that could have happened years ago, if anyone had bothered to look beyond their corner offices. And current management, Uncle Richard demanded, will be evaluated based on actual performance metrics. Those who can adapt and contribute will stay. Those who can't, I let the sentence hang. My mother, who had been unusually quiet, spoke up. What about the family legacy? The real legacy, I replied, or the illusion we've been selling. Because I've spent 10 years building something real, while this company coasted on its name. Which version do you want to preserve? The question hung in the air, as I pulled up another screen. Atlas Corporation's global operations map. While Morrison International was holding garden parties, Atlas was building the future of logistics. We revolutionized supply chain management, developed proprietary tracking systems, and created efficient networks across continents. We did it without a famous name, without family connections, without anything except hard work and innovation. Sarah handed me another report. Latest numbers from the Tokyo office, ma'am. The Asian market expansion is ahead of schedule. Perfect timing, I smiled. Let's talk about the Pacific Rim Initiative. Morrison International has been trying to break into that market for 5 years with no success. Atlas did it in 18 months. Can anyone tell me why? Silence filled the boardroom. Finally, my cousin James, one of the few who actually worked for his position, raised his hand. Because we were trying to sell our name, he said quietly. While Atlas was selling solutions. Exactly. I nodded approvingly. James will be heading the merged Pacific Operations Division. He's one of the few who understands the difference between heritage and innovation. Uncle Richard stood up, his face red. This is outrageous. You can't just, Richard, I interrupted. Your division has lost $300 million in 3 years. You've approved vanity projects that benefit board members while bleeding shareholder value. Would you like me to share the detailed audit with the SEC? He sank back into his chair. Now, I continued. Those who want to be part of the new Morrison Atlas Corporation have 24 hours to submit their revised business plans. Show me value, not pedigree. Results, not relationships. Jennifer stood up shakily. And if we refuse, then thank you for your service, I replied simply. The security team will escort you to clear out your office. Your severance package is more generous than your performance deserves. One by one, board members filed out, leaving only my immediate family. Mom's perfect makeup couldn't hide her tears. Dad stared at his hands. Beatrice looked shell-shocked. Why didn't you tell us? Mom whispered. About Atlas. About all of this. Would you have listened? I asked. 10 years ago, when I said I wanted to learn the business from the ground up, you called it beneath our family's dignity. When I launched Atlas, you said I was embarrassing the Morrison name. When I secured my first major contract, you were too busy at the country club to notice. We were wrong, Dad admitted, his voice breaking. So terribly wrong. Yes, you were, I agreed. But this isn't about revenge. It's about building something worthwhile. The question is, are you ready to be part of that? Beatrice leaned forward. What would that mean? It means learning the business properly. No more honorary titles. No more corner offices without responsibility. You want to be part of this company. Earn it. How? She asked. Start at the operations level. Learn how things actually work. Prove your value based on results, not your last name. Mom dabbed at her eyes. And the Morrison name will mean something real again. I promised. Not just empty prestige, but actual achievement. We'll honor the legacy by building something worthy of it. Sarah appeared at the door. Ma'am, Tokyo is waiting for the video conference. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Think about it. You have 24 hours, just like everyone else. Choose carefully. As I walked toward the conference room, Dad called out. Alexandra, I turned. That small logistics company you started. It wasn't small at all, was it? No, I smiled. I just let you think it was. Sometimes the best success stories are the ones you don't see coming. The next 24 hours would reshape Morrison International completely. The question was, would my family finally learn the difference between having a name and earning it? My phone buzzed. Another message from Tokyo. Time to show them what real Morrison leadership looked like. 3 months after the takeover, I stood in Morrison International's transformed lobby, watching the new digital display track our global operations in real time. The old oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors had been replaced by interactive screens showing live supply chain metrics, innovation projects, and employee achievements. The Tokyo merger is complete, Sarah reported, handing me her tablet. And you might be interested in this. Beatrice's logistics training evaluation just came in. I smiled, reading the report. My sister had surprised everyone, including herself, by excelling in her ground-level position at our Shanghai hub. No shortcuts, no special treatment, just hard work and genuine learning. Miss Morrison, a familiar voice called. Jennifer stood nervously by the reception desk, looking different in business casual rather than her usual designer suits. I have my revised business plan. 3 months ago, she'd stormed out of the boardroom, vowing never to work under me. Now here she was, clutching a well-worn folder with post-it notes sticking out everywhere. Come up to my office, I said, noting how she'd traded her $1,000 heels for practical shoes. Show me what you've learned. My office wasn't the palatial space Uncle Richard had occupied. I'd converted that into a collaborative workspace for our innovation team. Instead, I worked from a modest corner office, its walls covered with logistics maps and real-time operations data. Jennifer spread her documents across my desk. I spent the last 3 months studying Atlas's marketing strategies. The way you integrated digital tracking with customer engagement, it's brilliant. I was thinking, if we applied similar principles to Morrison's traditional client base. I listened as she outlined her ideas. Gone was the entitled cousin who relied on her name. In her place sat a professional who'd done her homework and developed actual insights. Implementation timeline? I asked. 3 months for the pilot program, she replied promptly. I'd like to start with our Asian markets since they're already undergoing integration. Approved, I nodded. But you'll work directly with the operations team. No more marketing plans made in isolation. Her face lit up. Really? I mean, thank you. I won't let you down. Don't thank me, I said. You earned this, that's how it works now. As Jennifer left, Sarah appeared with more updates. Your father's waiting in the conference room. He's finished his review of the European divisions. I found Dad surrounded by spreadsheets and coffee cups, his sleeves rolled up, tie discarded hours ago. He barely resembled the man who'd once cared more about country club memberships than company performance. It's worse than we thought, he said, without preamble. The European operations are a mess. Redundant systems, outdated processes, inflated management positions. He ran a hand through his gray hair. How did we let it get this bad? Because we were running two different companies, I replied. One based on name, one based on results. Now we're fixing it. He nodded, pulling up more spreadsheets. I've identified 37 positions that can be eliminated immediately. Another 40 that need complete restructuring. If we implement Atlas's management model. Do it, I authorized. But remember our deal. Every displaced worker gets either retraining opportunities or a fair severance package. Already included in the plan, he assured me. Some of them have real potential if they're actually taught the business properly. My phone buzzed, a message from Mom, education program proposal ready for review. Can we meet? The transformation in my mother had been perhaps the most surprising. After the takeover, she'd immersed herself in studying employee development programs, determined to help rebuild the company from the ground up. I found her in the new training center, surrounded by curriculum plans and skills assessment tools. Look at this, she said excitedly, pulling up a presentation. We've identified key skills gaps in middle management. If we implement this training program across all divisions, using Atlas's mentorship model, I asked. Combined with Morrison's existing resources, she nodded. The best of both approaches. I reviewed her proposal. It was thorough, practical, and focused on real results, everything the old Morrison International had lacked. Approved, I said, but I want you to work directly with the regional teams. This needs to be customized for each market. Already scheduled, she smiled. I have video conferences with Singapore and Frankfurt tomorrow. My phone buzzed again. Beatrice this time. You need to see this. Innovation Team Breakthrough. Level 3. The third floor had been transformed into our innovation hub, where cross-functional teams worked on next-generation logistics solutions. I found Beatrice in the test lab, surrounded by engineers and data analysts. We cracked it, she announced proudly. The real-time tracking integration you wanted. Watch this, she demonstrated their solution. A seamless merger of Atlas's digital infrastructure with Morrison's global network, creating unprecedented supply chain visibility. 3 months ago, I wouldn't have understood half of this, she admitted. Now, it's like seeing the whole world connected. Because you learned it properly, I reminded her. No shortcuts, no special treatment. Miss Morrison, Sarah appeared. The global management video conference starts in 10 minutes, and you might want to see this first. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was a financial news headline. Morrison Atlas merger exceeds all projections. Stock soars on innovation breakthrough. Send this to Uncle Richard, I instructed. He should see what happens when you build something real instead of just protecting a name. The video conference brought together our management teams from across the globe. The faces on the screens were different now. Fewer family members, more earned positions. Each report showed progress. Real achievements, actual value creation. Last item, I announced as the meeting concluded. The board has approved our new corporate values statement. Sarah? The screens filled with simple text. Excellence through innovation, success through merit, legacy through achievement. 3 months ago, I continued, we were two separate companies, one built on name, one built on results. Today we're one organization, measured by what we actually accomplish. The faces on the screens nodded, professionals who'd earned their places, regardless of their names. After the conference, I found Mom waiting in my office. I saw the values statement, she said softly. It's perfect. It's what we always should have been. It's what we are now, I corrected. The question is, are we ready for the next phase? She straightened. The global expansion, but I thought that was still in planning. Plans change, I smiled. When people exceed expectations, my phone buzzed with another update. This time from James and Pacific Operations. New contract secured, biggest one yet. Wait until Uncle Richard sees these numbers. Speaking of Richard, Mom ventured. He called yesterday. He asked if there might be a place for him. Not in management, she added quickly. He wants to learn, really learn. I considered this. Have him submit a proposal. Like everyone else, she nodded, understanding. The old Morrison International was gone. In its place stood something stronger, a company built on merit, not memories. Alexandra, Mom paused at the door. Thank you, not for the takeover, but for showing us what we could really be. I looked out my window at the city skyline, where both the Morrison and Atlas logos now shone together. We're not done yet, I replied. We're just getting started. 1 year after the takeover, I stood on the stage of Morrison Atlas Corporation's global conference, surveying an audience that would have been unimaginable 12 months ago. Gone were the family-only executive seats and hereditary titles. Instead, 2,000 employees from 30 countries filled the auditorium, each one there on merit alone. A year ago, I began. Two companies became one. But this isn't a story about mergers and acquisitions. It's a story about transformation. The screens behind me displayed our annual results. 200% increase in operational efficiency, 150% growth in market value, and innovation metrics that had made us the industry leader in global logistics. Some of you remember the old Morrison International, I continued, spotting familiar faces in the crowd. A company that valued names over achievement, heritage over innovation. Others came from Atlas Corporation, where every position was earned through results. In the front row, my family sat quietly, transformed almost beyond recognition. Mom in her practical business suit, focused on her employee development notes. Dad reviewing operations data on his tablet. Beatrice preparing for her innovation team presentation. Even Jennifer, now our head of integrated marketing, had traded her status symbols for substance. Today we're neither of those companies. We're something new, something better. I nodded to Sarah, who pulled up our latest acquisition data. As of this morning, Morrison Atlas has completed its 100th integration project. Our global network now spans every major market, with efficiency ratings that our competitors can't match. But more importantly, we've created a culture where excellence isn't inherited, it's earned. The audience applauded as I gestured to the first presenter. Beatrice Morrison, please share the innovation team's results. My sister took the stage, confident in a way her designer clothes had never made her. Our integrated tracking system has revolutionized global supply chain management. But the real breakthrough came from our team's diversity, combining experienced logistics professionals with fresh perspectives. She launched into a detailed presentation about their achievements, speaking the language of real business, not family privilege. The audience was captivated, not by her name, but by her expertise. Next came Jennifer, presenting marketing analytics that showed genuine customer impact, not just glossy metrics. Then James, outlining Pacific Operations' unprecedented growth. Finally, a surprise speaker stepped up, Uncle Richard. He looked different in his operations uniform, the gold cufflinks replaced by a company ID badge. A year ago, I thought I knew everything about this business because of my name. Today I'm learning from our warehouse teams in Singapore, and I've never been prouder. The audience surprise quickly turned to respect, as he detailed efficiency improvements he'd helped implement, real achievements from the man who once demanded respect purely for his name. This, I said, retaking the stage, is the real Morrison legacy, not what we inherit, but what we build. Not who we were born as, but who we choose to become. Sarah handed me the latest market report. Morrison Atlas stock had just hit another record high. Looking ahead, I continued, we're launching the Morrison Atlas Global Innovation Initiative. $5 billion invested in developing next-generation logistics solutions. But here's the difference. Positions will be earned, not awarded. Ideas will succeed on merit, not names. Mom stood up, ready to present the accompanying education program that would make this possible. Her presentation wasn't about maintaining appearances, but about creating genuine opportunities for growth. Some of you might remember last year's family reunion, I said, drawing knowing smiles from those who'd been there. When certain people decided some names weren't worthy of the Morrison legacy, today we've redefined what that legacy means. I clicked to the final slide, our new corporate headquarters under construction, not a monument to family pride, but a center for innovation and excellence. The old Morrison International measured success by exclusivity. Atlas Corporation proved that real success comes from inclusion based on merit. Morrison Atlas Corporation combines the best of both, the resources of a legacy company with the drive of an innovator. Dad stood next, presenting operational expansions that would create thousands of new jobs. His pride now came from building something meaningful, not from maintaining status. 1 year ago this company changed hands, I concluded. Today it's changing the industry. Tomorrow will change how global business thinks about legacy and innovation. The applause was thunderous, but I was watching my family. Their faces showed not the old arrogance, but genuine pride in actual achievements. After the conference, we gathered in my office, not for a family meeting, but for a business review. The board approved the innovation budget, Sarah reported, and the education program launches next month. Speaking of education, Mom added, our first class of management trainees graduates next week, from all over the world, chosen purely on merit. And Uncle Richard, I asked, top of his operations certification class. Dad chuckled. Who would have thought? Beatrice pulled up more data on my screen. The integration team has exceeded all targets. We're ready for the next phase whenever you are. I looked at my family, really looked at them. A year ago they'd been caricatures of corporate privilege. Now they were professionals who'd earned their positions through real work and genuine learning. Next phase starts tomorrow, I announced. But first I have a question for all of you. Was losing the old Morrison International worth it? We didn't lose anything real, Jennifer replied thoughtfully. We just traded fake prestige for genuine achievement. The name means more now, Beatrice added, because it stands for something real. My phone buzzed with another update. Our Asia-Pacific operations had just secured their biggest contract yet, not through family connections, but through superior service and innovation. 1 year ago, I said, we were a family pretending to be a business. Today we're a business that happens to include family, when they earn it. They nodded, understanding. The transformation was complete, not just in our company structure, but in our fundamental values. Outside my office window, the sun set behind our construction site, where the new Morrison Atlas headquarters rose, a physical symbol of our transformation, not a monument to the past, but a foundation for the future. Ready for another year? I asked. Their responses came not in words, but in actions, opening laptops, pulling up projects, focusing on real work, the kind that builds true legacies, one achievement at a time. The Morrison name hadn't been restricted. It had been redefined, and that was worth more than all the garden parties and family photos in the world. The end.